Natt Till End is the ninth full-length album from Oslo, Norway-based black metal band DJEVEL. And this is the third in a trilogy of albums that have featured Kvitrim of Mare and Vemod, after Manavond, their previous part of the trio there, had left to revive his other band, Coldbrand, who have an album out this year as well. Generally, this band has been compared to Take or Kvist in the past. There's much more to their sound. They do have 9 albums under their belt, and they feature different drummers in different configurations over time, making all of it fairly varied, but all of it focused on a classic yet modern style of Norwegian black metal. Often they've incorporated melody or even some black and roll elements in some of their albums, none that are so pronounced that they were ever so off subject of Norwegian black metal. And that really is what this album is. But if we consider just the trilogy of records that have appeared since 2021's Tanker som Rear Natten, these were more serious, downtrodden, and focused on the atmospheric and folken side of the band. There was a stronger bass presence on some of these records. The pacing changed a bit, and their production style kind of wavered between more checked out atmospheric songs and more rushes of speed. And that's generally what we get on this third album, but the production values have blossomed into something that is a little bit more dynamic, and we get something that is generally more aggressive in its travel. So we'll cut to a clip here and get a sense of what that sounds like now, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's different, what's better, and what's just interesting about this record as a whole. So in general, what's interesting about this record is not only that they brought back some more aggression into what they're doing, but they've fused in different types of vocals to really introduce the album and hone in on some of the more special moments in some of these songs, with chorales and different clean vocal styles that have changed the way that this record feels compared to the two that had preceded it. It does feel like more of a destination than an adventure like the previous ones did, and the way that that's reflected is that it sort of forces the stream a little bit further and faster, while also having maybe a celestial or a nighttime feeling to a lot of the record. That's echoed in the art style of the cover, and it also is in the general production values, which are brighter and a little bit more melodic at times. I think if you need a shortcut as to the way this record might feel, maybe something evolved from the more raw spectrum of early Ulver, but definitely not as Folken or dramatic in the same way. This is more of a grand feeling record with a strong guitar presence, and they are driven by the riff most of the time, although it won't feel like a full-on guitar record based on a lot of the vocal contributions to this whole thing. I think what really carried it through is the strength of the rhythm section. That's always something that I really value in black metal. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be personal and raw and aggressive, and I think that carries through here, where there's a lot of feeling conveyed between the bass lines and the drums and the way they interact in both traditional and maybe some more modern sense of lilting movement. So there's a lot of pretty interesting work here if you're interested in the details in some of these more dramatic songs. But you also get the classic sound from this band, which is traditional in most every sense, but also they've sort of got their own voice, which is a very strong and interesting thread to follow through their whole career, which has now become quite extensive. So for me, this is a high recommendation. This is one of the more essential black metal records of the year in general. I think that this is one of the finer works from this band. I really value their late 2010s output and a lot of the darker work that they've done around that time, and I feel like this is really a fitting peak to this trilogy that they've been working on, and also just one of their best and easiest to grasp records to date in terms of just diving right in and getting to the real variety and the oeuvre of the band and the way that they presented it. So overall, just a very strong showing. It's a very aesthetic thing. It's a very there's a lot of depth to what they're conveying here, and also it's just a fine work. So nothing but praise for this one. Go ahead and check it out. It released on November 15th. And go ahead and read my review for more of my thoughts on the record in general.